Hey guys, welcome to the channel. We've got a review today on this very special Nepros ratchet. On the back here, you're going to see the part number NBR390AL, and then the AL is the additional length, or it's the longer version. Obviously, it's made in Japan, and it's made by KTC, which is Kyoto tool, the 9.5 millimeter square, which is equivalent to the US 3/8. And so for those of you guys also who don't know, Nepros is the high-end quality version of KTC. For those of you who don't know who KTC is, it's also very high quality, and I've already reviewed several ratchets from KTC. So if you're talking about top-end, professional grade, almost artistic pieces of tools, this is your company, KTC, and this is their most finite, special quality tools. Okay, so we'll take a crack open here. And it comes in a nice box, right? Nice presentation. Here's your 90 plus. That's in reference to the teeth. And then open up. I mean, look at all this extra foaming you got here, guys. This is light density foam here. Here is the packaging. It comes like so. So it's actually a nice folded paper. It's like a thick stock. And it says down here, Superior 90 Gear KTC Japan. And it even sets on top of foam. This is actually medium to high density foam right here. Very nice. So great presentation if if you're looking to keep this in your box and you want to have it look like this. This is a nice presentation of this ratchet. And they take the time, to fold up all the corners. And this is nice. Nice quality for, buying a ratchet. I picked up the longer version. This one is about, you may or may not be able to see it on camera. This one comes in at 10 3/4 inch from head to stern. Now, what's nice also about Kyoto Tools is this head design. So it's got a pear shape, but it's nice and narrow. It comes to a nice narrow taper. It is a little bit thicker, right? So if we're gonna take that and we just reviewed this Quinn, but let's put them side by side. You can see that the head depth is a little bit thicker, but the head dimension is even smaller. So depending on what your needs are, right? If you like to have that shorter radius, then this is going to get into tighter spaces. But if you want to have a slimmer head, then there's other options, right? Now, as far as the finish, this has an exquisite chrome. Like, they've taken the time to polish to a mirror finish all this. Initially the steel, right? But they've taken that time to mirror polish even the chrome on top of it too. Like, if you want to get nitpicky, you can see, let's see if you guys get in the focus there. You can see a little bit of the forging process still left over in these tight nooks and crannies. But other than that, they've done an excellent job putting this together. Now, it's the Superior 90 Gear KTC Japan Nepros. We'll take this apart too. We'll check out inside. They use I imagine this is a Phillips, but it could be. Now, this version obviously has the push button release. It is flush, if not just under flush, so it will not get in the way as you're working. It is pretty soft as far as the function, ever so slightly off, but it's there. It looks like it works just fine. The handle, very sleek, slim. I like this indentation for your finger. This kind of gives you a little bit of muscle memory of how you like to use it. Maybe that's where your middle finger goes. Maybe that's where your index finger goes. Wherever. It gives you a nice little feel there. And then coming to the back, you could see, once again, 90 plus. And it also says, again, this is the part number, NBR390AL, in KTC Japan. And then the selector switch, nice positive feel. It does stick up just ever so slightly, and it does hover just a tad bit above. But that's nice in case you get some grime in there. It's going to be able to not stick. But it sits in place. It does Yeah, it doesn't want to lock in the middle. It wants to stay one side or the other. A nice function. Backdrag's not too bad. Actually feels pretty good, especially as you get it rolling. It wants to keep going in motion. But we'll dive in and take a look inside. But even the finish to this is very smooth. I mean, let's take a look at it compared to, say, the Quinn. Right, the Quinn actually has, we'll go full zoom on this so you guys could get really in there. Okay, so you can actually see the machine work that goes into this. Right, so you actually have ridges. Whereas with the Nepros, none whatsoever. So that process takes even more work. That is very smooth throughout. It even feels like a higher quality steel that's used here. Okay, so let's do another test too. Let's see how it feels in comparison. We did a video also earlier on this Koken. Very low back drag. That's actually pretty close. Koken might have the slight edge, ever so slightly. If you guys are interested in me doing a test of these two of actual back drag, I could probably rig up something. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But those are very close. Very low back drag on both of those. It's also worth noting too, and I feel like a lot of people haven't mentioned it, is there's a very unique construction to this ratchet. Now these ones that have this little rubber piece, it's actually not even rubber, it's actually silicone. Thankfully, rubber's just going to split and fall apart. So the silicone fits on here quite nicely, quite tight. There's a nice mirror finish. Let's take off. I want to show you guys something real quick, because most people don't know this about this ratchet. But if you look inside there, you guys are loving, I'm doing this to a very expensive ratchet. Right here, there's a seam. We'll zoom in. Here's a seam. So this is actually two pieces. This is an end cap, this is the main body, and there's your seam between the two. So what Koken has done with this ratchet, and I think it's ingenious, because nobody else that I know of does this. What they did is they took this handle and they put it in a mill, and they actually machine out this center section all the way up to, I think it's about here. So they'll go in there and cut it all out. And the point of that is because this ratchet's already very heavy. They use a very high quality dense steel in the process. But Koken's all about finding a balance as well. Balance is key to efficiency. And Koken figured that out with these ratchets, in that they make sure that the balance is equal or close to equal. So if you take this ratchet and you place it on your finger, right? It's going to want to balance itself almost right there in the middle, a little bit more towards the back at this point. And so that gives you an impression when you're holding it that it's not so tail end heavy, right? That you're doing all this extra work. As you're choking up on this ratchet, it actually feels very well balanced and wants to stay right in your hand and not go one way or the other. Now, granted, that will change as you throw different sockets on the front. You'll find yourself obviously wanting to choke up more on the handle as you put a socket on there, depending how big it is. But that gives you a better balance in the hand, so you're not fatiguing your wrist, fatiguing your hand anymore. And, you know, is it a big thing? To some of you, it may not be. But I think it's a huge part of the process, is because they're taking it a step further to try to make the most ergonomically friendly ratchet for their consumer base. And that's a big step. As far as retention, it does have a little bit of play. As far as anvil play, I don't think it's got much. Let's see, we'll do it this way. Yeah, that's tight. Very little. This socket's a little loose, but yeah. Anvil, nice and tight. I will say this, and maybe some of you guys could explain this, but I don't know why I could push down that far just by hand. I don't know why. That just seems like too easy. It still holds on, but I think that's part of why it allows it to. See how it drops? That is going to be one of my gripes about this, is you get that play on the end. And maybe Nepros, if you're watching this, maybe you could fill me in too. I do not like that so much, having that play. Everything else so far about this ratchet, I love. So I haven't dove into the inside. We're going to do this together. We're going to see what the gear and mechanism look like, and we'll go from there. All right, let's take this bad boy apart. All right, let's go ahead and pop off this cover. We'll take a look together. There's your floating pawl. So single pawl, it looks like it's got 8 and 8. So in any given direction, as you rotate it, 8 teeth will engage. Doesn't look to have a whole lot of grease in there. You can see a little bit there, but not much at all. So I'm going to add some more to it. Also looks like they run a channel in here, and I imagine that's so you can put an O-ring. So why isn't there an O-ring in that spot? If you guys got one of these wrenches, let me know if you got an O-ring there or not. But that looks like a channel to place an O-ring, much like the gear wrench and the Quinn here. They have that same channel where you could run an O-ring. Okay, let's pull this out and hopefully not let it fly. Okay, pulls out. So that's interesting. I'll take this out. Let's take a quick look. It looks very similar to a lot of the ratchets. It looks like they use a single stock that they drill out, and they run that for the lever. It has a good positive retention in there. It's tight. So the light alone keeps it tight inside there. Okay. All right, so let's look at the pawl. A little bit of grease here, a little bit of grease there. Not super tacky. Teeth look good. Yeah. It's a good design. Not bad. Looks like you could put this in either direction too. It's not directional. So no markings whatsoever. Okay, so let's look at the, so that's the pawl. Here's the anvil. Again, you can see how it's just ever so slightly stamped to the side, but it's still a good stamping nonetheless. The ball retains in there like it should. Now teeth on this, they look good as well. Let's engage. Engage nicely, and it engages fully. So even this has a chamfer to it. It is the exact, if not slightly, just the same height as this gear. Now, again, it's got this channel in here on the bottom, but also on the top. So I'm wondering what the reason for that is. Is it so you could pack in more grease? Is it there for weight reduction? Well, it is nice, but I almost feel like I could throw an O-ring in there. So I may try to do that. Throw an O-ring in there. I may try to oil this up, and I'll get back to you guys here in just a second. All right, guys, I am back after a little bit of work putting this together. I did manage to find a couple O-rings, especially from this set that in my last video I discussed the importance of having O-rings on hand. Well, this is actually one of those cases where it was perfect. So I ended up using a 13mm inner diameter, 16mm outer diameter seal out of this kit, which is this guy right here. And yeah, put it in there. I used the same one for the front and the back, although the channel seems a little bit, I think, deeper on the inside. Anyways, they're just about flush with everything, and here we'll put it in here as a test, because you don't want to have any interference. You want this to sit in there just right. So this still sets like it should. So I just turned what was a non-sealed head ratchet into almost a sealed head ratchet. It'd be a fully sealed ratchet if I was able to put an O-ring on the selector as well. I do want to run those O-rings in there because why not? Why not preserve the mechanism inside and make it last longer? So I'm going to go ahead and lube this up. Being that it's a 90 tooth, I may just put a light oil in here as opposed to, say, a grease. So hang tight, we'll do that next. Alright guys, back together. Of course, as I was putting this back together, the little spring inside here popped out, and it took me another 5-10 minutes to find it. So it's back together. Do not use a grease. Use a light oil for that. I did put a little bit of my thicker gear oil here towards the seal, but down inside here, if you put anything too thick, what's going to happen is it's going to catch. The paw's going to catch and actually stick to it because it's going to create a suction right on the teeth themselves. So run a fine oil on there, and you should be just fine. So we'll put this together, and you guys can see how she all looks. All right, guys, so we got it all back, tied together. We got that oil in there. Again, don't use grease on these finer tooth counts. I even just tried it with this one, and all that happens is that pawl, that floating pawl, sticks to it instead of bouncing off of it, and it ends up just locking up your gears. So I had to go back through and clean it all out and put a nice fine oil in there. I like to use a nice synthetic. But yeah, it goes back together just fine, and even spins a little bit nicer. I needed a little bit extra oil in there. So, and as you know now, I have an O-ring both on the front and on the back. The only place I'm missing an O-ring would be here at the selector switch. So I have a mostly sealed ratchet now, which I like. And I'm not exactly sure why Nepros didn't put it in there, but if you guys want to improve your Nepros ratchet and put one in yourself, you obviously can. So, all in all, great ratchet. Now, where you can find this, Amazon, or you can purchase from Nepros, I think, directly as well. But Amazon has these. I purchased this through Amazon Japan, and I think it's about $90 some odd. I think pricing has gone up since I purchased it. They're typically about $100 or more, 110. I think even higher than that now. But great ratchet, great quality. Am I going to use it? Probably ever so sparingly. It is a very nice piece. And I'm going to take care of it. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you have one? Have you used it? Also, does yours have the O-rings inside of it? And have you swapped in O-rings if you haven't already? I'd love to hear all about it. And guys, if you like these videos, please give a thumbs up and please subscribe down below here so you do not miss out on future content. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.